Hello and welcome. Today we are going to talk about something that touches the lives of millions, yet is often endured in silence: the persistent feelings of anxiety, sadness, or a general sense of emptiness that can settle in as we get older. It is a significant health concern. Current data reveals that approximately 1 in 4 American adults over the age of 65 reports experiencing symptoms of anxiety or depression. For some, this takes the form of a diagnosed condition. For many others, it is a less defined but equally heavy burden, a persistent low mood, a loss of interest in once cherished activities, or a feeling of helplessness that just won't lift. And if you felt this way, please know you are not alone. I understand this can be a heavy burden to carry, especially if you feel you have to carry it in silence. It can be profoundly isolating, made heavier by the misconception that these feelings are somehow a normal or an inevitable part of aging. They are not. What I want to share with you today is a source of new hope, grounded in an emerging and powerful field of medicine. According to the work of leading nutritional psychiatrists, the food we eat has a direct and profound impact on our mood, our resilience to stress, and our overall mental well-being. Over the next 25 minutes, we will explore the clinical evidence behind 5 specific superfoods. But more importantly, we will uncover the underlying principle that explains why they work. By the end of our time together, you will not just have a list of foods, but a new understanding of how to build a foundation for better mental and emotional health, one meal at a time. For decades, many of us were taught to believe that our mental health was somehow separate from our physical health, that what happens in the mind stays in the mind. But a leading nutritional psychiatrist at a major university hospital often begins by explaining to patients that this is the single biggest misunderstanding we need to correct. The mind and body are not separate. They are intricately connected. In fact, what is good for the body is almost always what is good for the brain. The foundation of this connection is a concept known as the gut-brain axis. Think of it as a constant two-way communication highway between your digestive system and your brain, physically linked by a massive nerve called the vagus nerve. This connection is so profound that the gut is often called our second brain. It contains millions of neurons and is responsible for producing up to 95% of our body's serotonin, a critical chemical messenger that regulates our mood, sleep, and appetite. When the gut is healthy and calm, it sends positive, reassuring signals to the brain. But when the gut is in distress, it sends alarm signals, which the brain can interpret as anxiety, stress, or depression. I understand this might be a completely new way of thinking about mood. It can be unsettling to learn that the gut plays such a major role in how we feel emotionally. But what I want you to hold on to is that this is incredibly hopeful news. It means we have a new, powerful, and accessible way to influence our mental well-being right from our own kitchen. To illustrate this, let's consider an anonymous case study, a composite of what experts in this field see regularly. A gentleman in his late 70s came to a clinic. He didn't describe himself as sad or depressed. Instead, his primary complaints were physical: a debilitating fatigue that never lifted, persistent aches and pains in his joints, and a complete lack of motivation to see his friends or work in his garden, activities he had loved his entire life. His primary care doctor had run all the standard tests, but found nothing definitive. It was only when a nutritional psychiatrist asked him to describe his daily diet, which consisted heavily of convenient, processed foods, refined carbohydrates, and sugary snacks, that a new picture began to emerge. The expert explained that his physical symptoms were classic signs of chronic, low-grade inflammation. This inflammation was originating in his gut, and, through the gut-brain axis, was sending constant distress signals to his brain. These signals were manifesting as the profound fatigue and lack of motivation that we call depression. This gentleman's story is not unique. In fact, it is a perfect example of a broader clinical observation. A large body of research now shows a powerful link between diets high in processed foods and systemic inflammation, and a corresponding increase in the risk for both anxiety and depression. The expert's view is that for many older adults, the root of the problem isn't a sudden, mysterious chemical imbalance that appears out of nowhere. Instead, it is the result of a slow-burning fire of inflammation in the body, which eventually exhausts the brain's resources and disrupts its ability to regulate mood. This is the core problem we will now learn how to solve. So, if chronic inflammation is a key driver of low mood, the first logical step is to address that inflammation directly. And according to nutritional psychiatrists, one of the most powerful, evidence-based tools for doing this is found in the omega-3 fatty acids from oily fish like salmon. Let's discuss the how and the why. Salmon is rich in two specific types of omega-3s, eicosapentaenoic acid, or EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, or DHA. When we consume these healthy fats, our bodies incorporate them into the membranes of our cells. From there, they're used to produce compounds that actively resolve and reduce inflammation throughout the entire body, including the brain. Multiple scientific studies have demonstrated a clear link between higher intake of omega-3s and a significantly reduced risk of depression. They are, in essence, a direct nutritional countermeasure to the inflammatory fire we discussed. A nutritional psychiatrist's advice is often to aim for 2 servings of oily fish per week. For many, the simplest and most reliable way to prepare salmon is by baking it. A very easy method is the foil parcel. You simply place a 4 to 6 ounce salmon fillet on a piece of aluminum foil. Add a slice of lemon, perhaps a sprig of fresh dill or rosemary, a light drizzle of olive oil, and a pinch of black pepper. Then, you wrap up the parcel so there are no leaks and bake it in an oven preheated to about 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes. This method steams the fish gently in its own juices, keeping it incredibly moist, and makes for a very easy cleanup. Now, I recognize that fresh salmon can be expensive or, depending on where you live, may not always be available. A fantastic and affordable alternative that nutritional experts often recommend is high-quality canned salmon. You can use it to make simple, delicious salmon patties or a salmon salad for a sandwich. The key is to look for wild-caught salmon, preferably packed in water. If you can find it with the soft, edible bones and skin still included, that's even better, as they are a wonderful source of calcium and other valuable nutrients. Finally, let's address a common mistake that causes many people to dislike salmon: overcooking it. When salmon is overcooked, the proteins tighten up and it becomes dry, tough, and far less enjoyable. The goal is for the fish to be cooked through, appearing opaque and flaking easily with a fork. The most foolproof way to avoid overcooking is to use an instant-read food thermometer. You want to pull the salmon from the oven when the internal temperature in the thickest part reaches about 135 to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Another important but often overlooked step is to check for pin bones before cooking. Simply run your finger along the fillet. If you feel any tiny, sharp bones, they can be easily removed with a clean pair of tweezers. This small step ensures a much safer and more pleasant eating experience. I know that cooking fish can feel intimidating for some. If this is new to you, it's perfectly okay to start simple with the canned salmon. The goal is not to become a gourmet chef overnight. The goal is to gently and consistently give your body the powerful, anti-inflammatory tools it needs to begin healing. Once we have begun to calm the body's inflammatory response with omega-3s, the next strategy recommended by nutritional psychiatrists is to provide the brain with the specific raw materials it needs to build its mood-regulating chemicals. Two of the most important of these nutrients are folate and magnesium, and they are found in abundance in dark leafy greens like spinach and kale. Here is why they are so critical. Folate, which is a B vitamin, is absolutely essential for the brain's production of serotonin and dopamine, the very neurotransmitters that help us feel content, motivated, and happy. Magnesium is a mineral that is vital for calming the body's stress response system and promoting a sense of relaxation. It's no surprise, then, that clinical deficiencies in both of these nutrients have been strongly linked to higher rates of depression and anxiety. Now, a very common and important question that arises here is, I'm an older adult, and I have trouble with my teeth or with swallowing. Chewing tough, raw greens like kale is difficult for me. How can I possibly get these benefits? This is an excellent and practical question, and the expert advice is clear. You do not need to eat big, raw salads to benefit. In fact, many nutritional psychiatrists point out that cooking greens can actually make some of their nutrients easier for the body to absorb. The goal is simply to get them into your diet in a way that is comfortable for you. Here are 3 simple, expert-approved methods. First, you can wilt them. Simply take a large handful of fresh baby spinach and stir it into a hot soup or a pasta sauce just before serving. In a matter of seconds, it will wilt down to almost nothing, becoming incredibly soft and easy to eat. Second, you can blend them. Add a handful of spinach or even kale to a fruit smoothie. When blended with ingredients like berries and a banana, you will receive all of the nutritional benefits without any of the texture challenges, and you likely won't even taste the greens. And a third wonderful option is to puree them. A simple, comforting, and nutrient-dense meal is a pureed spinach soup. You can gently saute some onion and garlic in a pot. Add a large amount of fresh spinach and some vegetable or chicken broth, and then use a blender to puree it until it's smooth and creamy. Many of us have tried to eat healthier in the past by forcing ourselves to eat things we don't enjoy, like plain, boring salads. That approach rarely lasts. Please remember, this is not about punishment or restriction. It's about finding enjoyable and comfortable ways to nourish your body. If you dislike salads, that's perfectly fine. The goal is simply to get these powerful greens into your diet in a way that feels good to you. Let's take a moment to pause and connect the dots. We began by understanding a core problem identified by nutritional psychiatrists. Chronic inflammation, often originating in the gut, can be a major driver of low mood and anxiety. Our first strategy, eating oily fish like salmon, directly targets this inflammation with powerful omega-3 fatty acids. Our second strategy, incorporating leafy greens, provides the brain with the essential building blocks of folate and magnesium to manufacture its own mood-stabilizing chemicals. It's crucial to see how these are not separate ideas, but a system. They work together synergistically. According to experts in nutritional science, reducing inflammation with omega-3s creates a calmer, more stable environment in the body and brain. This calmer state makes it possible for the brain to effectively use the folate and magnesium from leafy greens to do its job properly. Think of it like this: you cannot build a sturdy house in the middle of an earthquake. The salmon helps to calm the earthquake of inflammation, so the greens can provide the bricks and mortar to rebuild your mood from the ground up. You have been paying close attention, and I want to commend you for that. Taking in this information is the first and most important step toward taking control of your health. You are already making progress. But what if there's a saboteur in this system? What if, even when you eat these wonderful, anti-inflammatory, nutrient-rich foods, your body can't properly absorb and utilize them? The leading edge of nutritional psychiatry is showing that for this entire system to work, we must first ensure the health of the environment where it all begins, the gut microbiome. The foods we've discussed are powerful, but the final three superfoods we're about to cover are the key to unlocking their full potential. They work on a deeper level to transform your gut into an ally for your mental health, not an adversary. To understand this deeper mechanism, we will introduce our next two superfoods as a synergistic pair: plain yogurt and fresh berries. The science behind this pairing is centered on your gut microbiome. As we've learned, our digestive tract is home to trillions of microorganisms, a complex ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes. A healthy, diverse microbiome is absolutely essential for good digestion, a strong immune system, and, as we are now understanding, for a stable, positive mood. An imbalanced or unhealthy microbiome, on the other hand, can become a source of inflammation, sending a cascade of negative signals up to the brain. This is where yogurt and berries come in. Plain, unsweetened yogurt that contains live and active cultures is a primary source of probiotics. Think of probiotics as reinforcements. They are beneficial, living bacteria that help restore balance and order to your gut community. Berries, such as blueberries, raspberries, or strawberries, are packed with two things that these good bacteria love: fiber and antioxidants. The fiber in berries acts as a prebiotic. Prebiotics are essentially food for your good gut bacteria, providing the fuel they need to grow, multiply, and thrive. The antioxidants, which are the compounds that give berries their rich, beautiful colors, help protect the delicate lining of your gut from damage and reduce something called oxidative stress, which is another form of inflammation. This is why the combination is so powerful. The yogurt provides the good guys, and the berries provide the food and protection they need to flourish and do their job effectively. This partnership is fundamental to healing the gut-brain axis and creating a healthy internal environment. When you start to support your gut health in this way, it's important to manage expectations. You may not feel a dramatic shift in your mood overnight. According to clinical experts, the first signs of improvement are often more subtle and related to your digestion. You might notice, for example, that you feel less bloated after meals, or that your digestion becomes more regular and comfortable. Some people report having more stable, consistent energy throughout the day, without the usual afternoon slump. These are the first encouraging signs that your body is responding and that you're rebuilding a healthier foundation from the inside out. Be patient with the process and listen for these small, positive signals from your body. They are proof that you are on the right path. We've journeyed from understanding the problem of inflammation to providing our bodies with anti-inflammatory fats and essential nutrient building blocks, to actively healing the gut microbiome itself. Now, we bring it all together with our fifth and final superfood and the single most important principle for achieving long-term success. Our fifth superfood is the humble walnut. According to nutritional psychiatry research, incorporating a small handful of walnuts into your daily routine is one of the simplest and most effective habits a person can adopt for their brain and mood health. Walnuts are remarkable because they embody all of the principles we have discussed today. First, they contain a unique plant-based omega-3 fatty acid known as ALA, which helps fight inflammation. Second, They are a source of tryptophan, an amino acid that the body uses as a precursor to build the mood-lifting neurotransmitter serotonin. And third, they contain fiber to help nourish and support a healthy gut microbiome. It is no wonder that multiple large-scale studies have linked daily nut consumption, and specifically walnut consumption, to significantly lower rates of depression and an overall more positive mood. This brings us to the grand finale, the unifying principle that top nutritional psychiatrists emphasize to their patients. The goal is not to treat a single symptom with a single magic food. The goal is to consistently nourish the entire gut-brain system. When you adopt this mindset, everything changes. You stop looking for a quick fix and start building a resilient foundation for long-term mental wellness. Eating salmon twice a week, adding a handful of spinach to your soup, enjoying a snack of yogurt and berries, and grabbing a handful of walnuts. These are not separate, unrelated chores. They are all part of a single, powerful, and unified act of nourishing the complex system that governs how you feel. It is this gentle, that healing, that you all need to reconnect with love and kindness. Steady consistency that creates an internal environment where a positive, stable mood is not the exception, but the norm. This is what leads to true and lasting transformation. I know we have covered a great deal of information, and it can feel like a lot to remember all at once. So, to make it as simple and practical as possible, here is the expert-recommended action plan, distilled into a simple weekly goal. Think of this as your clinical action plan for a better mood. First, aim for 2 servings of oily fish like salmon each week. This is your primary strategy for reducing inflammation. Next, on a daily basis, aim for 1 serving of dark leafy greens, like spinach. This provides the essential building blocks for your brain's mood chemistry. Also, daily, enjoy 1 serving of berries, like blueberries. This feeds your good gut bacteria and fights oxidative stress. Pair those berries with 1 daily serving of plain yogurt with live and active cultures. This directly reinforces your gut with beneficial bacteria. And finally, enjoy 1 small handful of walnuts each day. This is your daily dose that supports all of these key principles. Please, look at this plan not as a rigid set of rules, but as a gentle invitation from your body to provide it with what it needs. The goal is not perfection. If you miss a day or even a week, it does not matter. What matters is the gentle, consistent effort over time. Be kind to yourself in this process. You are learning a new way to care for your body and your mind, and that is a beautiful and courageous thing to do. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. Thank you for investing your time with me today. It is a privilege to share this vital, evidence-based information with you. We know that connection is a powerful antidote to feelings of loneliness. So I would love to invite you to connect with each other in the comments below. Please share 1 small, healthy change you have made in your life, big or small, that brought you a moment of joy or made you feel good. It could be a new recipe you tried, a walk you took, or a phone call with a friend. Your experience could be the very thing that inspires someone else to take that first hopeful step. Remember, knowledge is power, and you are now more powerful than you were 30 minutes ago. Take care of yourselves and each other. If you found this information valuable, please consider liking this video and sharing it with someone who might benefit. And subscribe to our channel for more expert-driven guidance on living a healthy, vibrant life.